Tree Gelman wakes up on her birthday in Carter Davis's dorm room, hungover and confused. She quickly ignores a call from her dad. After asking for some Tylenol, she heads out but runs into Carter's roommate, Ryan. To her embarrassment and Carter's, Ryan asks if they slept together. Annoyed, Tree walks to her room and bumps into Tim, a guy she once dated. Tim confronts her about ignoring his texts, but Tree explains that their date was terrible, just a meal at Subway, which left her miserable. When Tree gets back to her room, her roommate Lori greets her with a homemade cupcake. Tree, obsessed with her appearance and the calories, throws the cupcake away without a second thought. She rushes to class but later meets with her married professor Gregory, who's having an affair with her. Their moment is interrupted by his wife Stephanie knocking on the door. Tree avoids the awkwardness and heads to lunch with her sorority sisters. During the meal, Danielle, the head of the sorority, scolds Becky for bringing junk food. Becky accidentally spills food on Tree when she bumps into Carter, who's trying to return some jewelry Tree left behind. They briefly talk, and Tree pulls Carter aside, desperately trying to hide the fact that she slept in his room. Later that evening, Danielle invites Tree to a party at a nearby dorm. On her way there, Tree walks across campus and hears a music box. She's drawn to it and finds someone wearing a creepy baby mask. Tree threatens to call the cops, but the masked figure runs away, and Tree is chased down and brutally murdered. The next moment, Tree wakes up in Carter's dorm room again. She's shaken and confused, thinking she's experiencing déjà vu. She heads to her room, where Lori offers her the same cupcake, but Tree leaves it there this time instead of throwing it away. At lunch, Tree warns Becky about the impending accident with Carter, but the same things happen. Tree avoids the bridge on her way to the party, but when she arrives, she's startled by someone wearing the baby mask again. It turns out to be Nick, Danielle's boyfriend, who's planning a surprise party for Tree. Tree laughs it off and enjoys herself at the party. However, later, while Tree is upstairs in Nick's room, the real killer shows up and stabs Nick. Tree gets a text from Danielle accusing her of cheating with Nick. The killer attacks Tree, knocking her out with a broken bong. Once again, Tree wakes up in Carter's room, terrified. She runs to her room and locks herself in, telling Lori that someone is after her. Lori suggests Tree take the day off and stay in her room. Tree locks herself in, even boarding up the windows to be safe. But the killer breaks in, and after a fierce struggle, Tree is killed again. Now desperate and running out of chances, Tree explains everything to Carter, who is understandably confused. He tells her to figure out who the killer is by narrowing down her list of suspects. Carter suggests the killer might be targeting Tree specifically on her birthday, which makes everyone at school a potential suspect. Tree begins going through her list. She first tries to find clues with Tim, but finds him watching gay porn. She suspects Stephanie next, but before she can act on it, she sees Stephanie just before the killer tries to drown her. Then Tree turns to Danielle, but after a fight with her, Tree gets hit by a bus. Crossing off those suspects, Tree starts to think Gregory might be the killer. She finds a baby mask in his drawer at the hospital, but before she can confront him, the killer appears, stabs Gregory, and chases Tree into the parking lot. Tree steals a car and drives off, thinking she's escaped. But a cop pulls her over for speeding. Tree lies, saying she's drunk and high so that she can be locked up in a cell and avoid the killer. However, while she's cuffed in the back of the cop car, the killer drives past, hits the cop, and sets the car on fire, planning to kill Tree with the explosion. Tree wakes up in Carter's room again. This time she knows what's coming. She points out small things she's noticed, like a car alarm going off, sprinklers activating on students, and a group of activists standing together. Tree and Carter go to a burger joint where Tree starts to worry she's running out of lives. She mentions avoiding her dad's calls and shares that her mom passed away 3 years ago. They watch the news and Tree sees a report about a serial killer, Joseph Toombs, who targets young women. Tree believes he's the one causing her endless loops, and she knows that stopping him is the key to ending her torment once and for all. Tree and Carter rush to the hospital, determined to stop Toombs, but when they arrive, it's too late. Toombs has already killed the security guard and escaped. Tree grabs a fire axe and tries to run away from him, but Toombs catches up. Carter steps in to protect Tree, but Toombs is too strong and snaps his neck. In a desperate attempt, Tree manages to incapacitate Toombs, but realizes that if she stops the loops, Carter will remain dead. She runs to the top of the bell tower, trying to escape Toombs, and hangs herself, promising to find Toombs soon. When Tree wakes up again, she's filled with a new sense of hope. This time, she greets Carter with warmth, warns her friends about the sprinklers, and even shares a friendly moment with Lori. Tim approaches her, and she kindly tells him she knows he's not interested in girls and should be free to love who he truly wants. Tree decides to take control of her day. She interrupts Gregory's class, tells him she's breaking things off, and drops his class. During lunch, Tree shows up with a tray full of junk food and eagerly eats it. Danielle tries to get rid of Becky, but Tree stands up to her, takes Becky's chocolate milk, and pours it over Danielle's head, humiliating her. Later, Carter comes by to return Tree's jewelry, and in front of the other sisters, she kisses him. She invites him to celebrate her birthday with her that night. Tree has lunch with her dad, David, and opens up about how hard it's been to be around him since her mother passed. But she reassures him that she loves him and is sorry for hurting him. They share a light-hearted moment and enjoy their meal together. Tree then gears up for her final confrontation with Toombs. She approaches the security guard with a knife, takes his gun, and orders him to call for backup. Tree walks into Toombs' room, aiming the gun at him as he pretends to be asleep. She tries to pull the trigger, but she forgot to take the safety off. Toombs wakes up and fights Tree, slamming her against the wall. Just as things look grim, Tree remembers a brief blackout that happens at the right moment. She uses this to her advantage, sneaking behind Toombs and finally taking the safety off the gun, shooting him dead. Afterward, Tree and Carter spend the rest of the night together. Tree eats the cupcake Lori made for her and makes a wish before blowing out the candle. Tree wakes up in Carter's room the next morning to the sound of the birthday ringtone. It's still Monday the 18th, and Tree is confused and angry. She runs to her room to find Lori, who offers her the cupcake again. Tree declines, saying she already ate it the night before. Then it clicks. She died in her sleep. The cupcake was poisoned all along. Tree realizes Lori has been behind the whole thing. Since Lori works at the hospital, she had the perfect opportunity to release Toombs and make it look like he killed Tree. To confirm her suspicions, Tree finds the baby mask in Lori's desk. Tree confronts Lori, forcing her to eat the poisoned cupcake and threatening to expose her to the police. Lori admits everything, saying it was all because a guy she liked was more interested in Tree. Tree finds this motive childish, but the fight continues as Lori tries to finish Tree off once and for all. Just as Lori pins Tree to the bed, Danielle interrupts from outside the room. In a last-ditch effort, Tree grabs the cupcake and shoves it into Lori's mouth. With one final move, Tree grabs the ceiling lamp and kicks Lori out the window, sending her to her death. Tree and Carter are in a diner, watching the news about the incident. Danielle is being interviewed for publicity, and Tree can't help but laugh at the situation. Carter brings up how her experience reminds him of Groundhog Day, but Tree has never heard of it or Bill Murray. Tree starts to freak out, realizing she's back in the loop. Carter jokingly pretends she's still stuck in the loop, but then reveals that it's Tuesday the 19th, and she's finally free. They share a laugh, kick Ryan out when he tries to enter, and then kiss each other, happy that everything has finally come to an end.